Hello and welcome to today's Lightroom quick tip. We're going to be looking at importing images into Lightroom Classic. So without further ado, let's jump across to Lightroom Classic. Hello, hope I find you well. In today's video, we're looking at the import module and a little bit of a workflow for Lightroom Classic, and I'm currently running version 11.5. So, as most of us know, our user interface is split into three sections: left panel, center section, and the right hand panel. So we're going to click the import button, which is bottom left hand corner. There are other ways of getting to the import module, but we're just going to keep this simple by clicking on the import button, bottom left hand corner. This is the full dialog. You may see, if I'm going to come down to bottom left hand corner and click on the triangle, you may see the mini import dialog, which is there. But we're going to focus on the main import dialog, which is the full import dialog. And again, we've got that comforting three panel approach: left hand panel, center panel, right panel. So the left hand panel is where your images are coming from, and you can see it says select source, so we can click here and it gives us our recent and our main sources. Now if I've got a camera attached, or the operating system has recognized a media card, that will show there and also show underneath the source here. Now you can set up your operating system that when you plug a camera in and turn it on, or plug an SD card in, it will launch Lightroom Classic, and there's a tick box in your catalog preferences that when a new media card or camera has been sensed, it will open Lightroom Classic and open the import module for you. So it all does this automatically. You may find that annoying, so you won't want to do that. You want to import them as you want to import them. So left hand side, I'm going to click on a folder on a drive and it says LRC to import. These images I want to import. This is what's in that folder. Now there is, underneath source, include subfolders. So if I go up one folder, if I click on the little triangle, you'll see there's a little subfolder in there. It will also, if that's ticked, it will also look in a subfolder. But in this instance, there's no subfolder. You may have, up by the include subfolders, if it's a CF, an old CF card or an SD card, you may have a little tick box, eject on completion of import. That will not appear for a CF Express card as of time of recording. CF Express cards are considered as drives, and Lightroom Classic doesn't, as you see here, doesn't offer me that tick box because it's considered as a drive. It's a really fast media device. It thinks it's a drive, and that's an operating system issue. So you may, if this is some time after the recording, that may have been sorted out in the operating system. So we're currently in the grid view in the middle, and these are the images, and I've got an image grayed out, and I'll explain what that is grayed out in the middle. And across the top, these are the four different ways I can add the images to my catalog. Okay, but there's a big but. I am not adding the images themselves to the catalog. I'm adding a link to where they're going to end up. Lightroom does not store your images. Okay? It just stores the link in the catalog to where they are on your hard drives. That's really important to understand. And I've done a video all about backing up your catalog and your images. That's in the playlist. Now I'm currently in the grid view, so we can go to loop view by clicking on the loop view button bottom left hand side, or you can click spacebar, or you can just click on the active image, double click there, and there we go, and you can go back, press G for grid. So the normal keyboard shortcuts work here, same as the library module. So copy as DNG. DNG is digital negative. It's Adobe's raw format, so it'll only copy the raw files and convert them to Adobe's raw format. So it takes a Canon or a Nikon or any other format and converts it on import to Adobe's format. Now you may not want to convert them, so we go up to copy, and it will copy all your images and will not convert the raw files to Adobe's format. It will keep them in the Canon or the Nikon or whatever manufacturer's got raw format. Now, there is sometimes you might want to move images. I would very rarely move them, just in case there's a problem on import, they get corrupted. I would always copy, and then once I finish with the media on, let's say, that hard drive or the media card, I'd reformat it or delete them later. Now, perhaps your workflow is you've gone on a trip to, let's say, Europe or South America, and you've got 20,000 images and you haven't got enough memory cards. And you've taken your laptop and an external drive, and you've taken them off those in the operating system, you've taken them off those media cards, and you've put them on the external drive, and you either want to just add them to Lightroom Classic because they are where they're going to stay. So in this case, you just hit add, and all it's going to do is build a link to where they currently are. It's not going to move them, not going to copy them, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to create a link to where they are and add that link and all the metadata and build a preview and so on where they already are. So let's go back to copies DNG, and these are all JPEGs just for speed of importing. So, but if these were raw files, it would convert them all. Now I've got one image that's grayed out here, and that's because Lightroom Classic has already detected that it's in my catalog, and I'll show you where the ticked box is to turn that on, turn it off. It looks at the file name, the metadata, the date, the time, camera serial number, all these things to see if it's already in there. So we have new images. There is the view of my new images. Destination folder, where they're going to end up, and we'll go on to that in a second. So this is the importing folder. There's 5 images there. These are the new images, and you can click and shift click, or you can command and control click, and it's the tick box. These are the ones that are going to be ticked. This is my active image. So if I come down to the bottom, I can untick all and say going to go command or control this active image. I just want to import those two, so I've selected them. Now I need to tell by clicking on the little tick box, these two are the only ones that are going to be imported. Okay, I could go check all, click down the bottom, check all, and it'll click on all of them. They're all going to be imported. So left hand panel, where they are, this is the way that I'm going to import them, and this image here is not going to be imported because Lightroom Classic has already determined this is in my catalog. So now let's come across to what it's going to do when it imports them and where they're going to end up. So I'm going to copy them. So firstly, we select our drive. This is where they're going, and they're going to go into this recent destination, and I can expand the destination by clicking on the destination folder and it'll find it there. Okay, so I can add into one folder date and time stamp, so I can put in date and time, and I've got a format. This is my file format. So my import process is I put all my stock type images into a large folder that's the narrative, so Highland Cattle, and then it gets split down into subfolders to date format. So these are all the pictures I took in this year, so I can click in my tree structure, my hierarchical tree structure, and see one click show me all the pictures that I took in 2022 of Highland Cattle, and then I can drill down further and look at the day. So they're going to go into this subfolder and date format. If that folder's already there, it's just going to put them in there. If it's not there, it's going to create it for me. And there's lots of different workflows, and I actually have got a course, I'll put it in the description, all about importing and workflow. And I do offer live workshops on Zoom where it's recorded, you get a copy of it for your archive, that we go through and we work out by conversation a workflow that's going to speed up your time getting your images into Lightroom Classic. So this is where they're going to end up. So file handling. This is the grayed out box here. Do not import suspected duplicates. If I untick it, it's going to import it. Lightroom has determined that's already there. Now we've got previews. What's a preview? We are looking at previews now. The only time you look at the raw file is when you're in the develop module editing. At all other times, they are previews. And you can select the type of preview that you want to build on import. Minimum just creates a really small preview. If you haven't got a lot of storage space on your computer, that's a great time to use it. However, when you go through the grid view and you cycle through your images, it'll take a second or so to render that image. Embed it into a sidecart, so it's attached, the preview is attached to the file wherever it's stored. Standard preview. Now in your catalog settings under preferences, you can specify for the size of screen your preview, the actual size, and that is called the standard size. Or you might want to create a one-to-one, and a one-to-one preview is whatever the size of the sensor of your camera, it builds that size of one-to-one, or you can select your own custom one-to-one in that catalog setting preview. Okay, now smart preview. A smart preview is basically a small raw file. This is the next button down, so there's a little tick box. It's a small raw file allowing you to work on your files away from your main drive. So as workflow, I promote best practice is you put all your images on one drive. That's one drive you have to back up. You can back that up into the cloud or create a second copy of that. And in my case, I have a 96 terabyte local NAS drive. That NAS drive constantly backs up all the data across the other drives. So if a drive fails, and I can set redundancy to 2 drives, so if 2 drives fail simultaneously, I still have all my data, and it's constantly backing it up. Okay, so I might want to work on a laptop away in this catalog, or you might be running on a laptop and you don't want to take that big drive with you. If you create a smart preview, it creates a little raw file, a 2 megabyte raw file, which is big enough for a 10 by 8 print because you can generate a print from it, and all the edits will be preserved in the catalog, and you can work away from that drive, and that's what a smart preview is. So we've done imports. Now, second copy. It's a legacy tick box and drop down. The second copy is when we didn't have NAS drives and you want to create an import, you moved one to one drive and you copied another one to another drive. So you had a copy of the original format and the original media on a second drive on import. But these days with technology, with drives backing up live into the cloud, incremental backups, with NAS drives where they're constantly scanning drives and making copies of them, it's become a bit of a legacy tick box and drop down. Now, add to collection. That's exactly what it says. And just to give you a tip, you could put a collection in the cloud that you could allow to import all your images or a batch of images, because I batch import. That's again for my importing workshop that there's I do a Zoom and a pre-recorded class all about importing and speeding up your workflow. But you can put your images into the cloud, allow Lightroom to do what you're asking it to do, which might take 15 or 20 minutes, but you could go into the garden and be social and sit there with your iPad chatting away and showing the images rather than everyone huddled around you looking at a screen. Or perhaps you might want to go, you're going to work, you've quickly imported them, you've put them into the cloud, you've got them on your iPad, and you can cull them, you can edit them. And this is a part of the automation, add them to the collection, which is synced to the cloud. So this is file handling. File renaming. Now, I always suggest you rename your files because the manufacturer's default file name doesn't mean anything to you. It's a shutter actuation. And actually in my cameras, I've renamed my file naming structure to the name of the camera. So N7 II, Nikon 7, Z7 II, N9, NZ9, Nikon Z9. You get so many characters that you can use, and all my images are renamed, so I know when I look at that file name what camera it was taken on. And it's, if we click on file renaming or rename file, we can select a preset that I've already made. There we go. And my preset is just to let you know, is the first three initials are who owns the copyright. Do I own the copyright, or if I work for somebody, I've relinquished the copyright if they employed me rather than a freelancer, they own the copyright. So I know immediately who owns the copyright. The next part is the date. When was that image taken? Because an image is a moment in time. Okay. Then I've got the time, and then I've got the original file name, or the name that's coming out of the camera. Okay. So that's my file structure, and from that I never have a duplicate file name, because an image is a moment in time. You can't replace that moment, and the shutter actuation is going to be different every time. So even if I took 15 frames in 1 second, I'd have 1001, 1002, 1003 shutter actuation number, but the second will stay the time would stay the same. Okay, sporting photography. So that's renaming there. You can create a template. Now, apply during import. We've got develop settings. So your develop module presets. Okay, we can select those. So we can make all these images black and white. We can have a preset that we've already made, a generic preset that we always use, and it can apply them on import. That's the top one. Metadata. Again, I have a pre-recorded workshop all about metadata. Okay, importing those metadata on import, your keywording, your description titles, your IPTC, all that information, all apply in here. And you actually have a box that you can apply additional keywords to. And then destination. We've already gone over destination, and there we go. So that's that panel. So now what do I do? So we have 3 buttons down the bottom. We have done, we have cancel, and we have import. Done will save the settings as you are and will close down the panel. Cancel will just forget and go back to the module, the grid module, and import will actually import them. So now we're going to come across the bottom, and I'm going to show you that super secret tip. So we've got grid view, loop view, check all, check none, and we've got sort. You can sort by capture time, which is the way that I usually sort them by. We've got our thumbnail. We can increase and decrease the thumbnail for the size of real estate. And we have this little box down here that's grayed out, and you can't really see it. It says none. So you click on it, and it gives you the options to do something. Now, perhaps we have a type of photography we really enjoy. So bear with me. You're a wildlife photographer, and you like photographing a particular type of bird, let's say. Okay, it could be anything. You could be a motorsport photographer, you could be an athlete, you could photographing particular athletes, but the point being, you have a repetitive import process. You photograph those eagles, those ospreys, those garden house sparrows, those blackbirds, whatever it is, you keep photographing them. How you've set this page up, you can save this as a preset. So, and how you do that is you click on the none, and it's got save current settings as a new preset, and you can see I've already got some presets here. So all you do is you click save and it comes up and you save it. Okay, and if I go back, I've just cancelled out that. If I go back and I click Highland Cattle, it will remember everything that's already on the right hand panel, and you can add to it if you wish, but it remembers everything. And so all I would do is go click X more. It's now telling me that drive's not there. Okay, so it's picked up a fault. Okay, because I've changed something, different drive. All right, so it'll test the integrity of the preset, but you can select the preset. There we go, and we go import, and everything that I've set up in that preset does it for me automatically. So you imagine how quick that could be. You could individually select so many images of a narrative, and away you go. It just imports them, boom, because they always go in that folder, they always go in that time, they always apply those presets, they always apply those keywords, they always apply that, and done. And there we go, our image is imported. So that's a little tip. I really hope that this has been of help for you today. If it has, please subscribe. I do lots of these quick tip videos where we look at one particular task and I explain it fully, rather than going through a whole module and focused on a particular task. If you've got a question, leave it in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you've liked it, give me a thumbs up. And just to the side of me is my Lightroom Classic playlist with all my videos of Lightroom Classic, and I update that most days. Keep taking photos. Stay safe. All the best for now.